So, what I wanted to talk about this morning, and mostly what I wanted us to practice, um, is the quality or the factor of energy. Um, I've been reading for the last couple of days all sorts of different things on energy, um, and what stands out for me the most is how difficult it is to intentionally, rouse energy to keep persisting in our practice. That when we sit, it doesn't take more than half a breath before most of us have wandered off. Um, it's really difficult. It's really difficult to persist in rousing energy, um, to keep going, to keep practicing. When we're sitting, the energy to be roused is to keep our attention on the breath or on whatever object of focus that we're working with on that day. And during our day-to-day lives, to rouse the energy to be mindful as we're moving through our day, to not get lost in, it's usually lost in thought, but I really think sometimes it would be valuable to think of it as being lost in language. That, there's a quality of thinking that's almost a physical experience that gets blurred or clouded over with the language that gets aroused by the thinking process. So sometimes instead of sort of an abstract intention to not get caught in thinking, um, it can be perhaps more useful to have a specific intention to not get caught in language. Because if there's no language present and your perceptual system is active, taking in information from the senses with no language, then what is it that you're perceiving? It's a great question. What is being perceived when you don't um, experience language going with it? And what would it be like um, to not have simply a moment of language free perception, but to extend that so that for our sit this morning, you're stacking language free moments of perception, one after the other, after the other, after the other. That, you know, you're just experiencing your very life as it's unfolding in that moment, moment after moment, without a running commentary, without a consistent analysis, without a constant focus on what's this about? What does this mean? What is its relationship to me? Am I going to be okay? Am I going to be not okay? All of the ways that we focus on language. It's quite wonderful to have brief moments of that experience so that you can see what it's like. But this week, I'm focusing on the parami of energy. It's the next one that comes in order of the ones that we've been doing. It's sometimes, instead of energy, sometimes it's called persistence or resolve or determination. Those are all good. And there are probably half a dozen other words that could be brought in there, all dependent on what do you need? What do you need um, to stay consistent? Um, to sit in the seat of this practice has been so beneficial to my life. This practice has been so beneficial to my life. This practice has been so beneficial to my life. Why not really sink into it? Why not give it more intention? Why not rouse more energy to sustain my intention to practice? Why wouldn't we do that if the practice is so beneficial? Well, that's a really good question. How come it's not easy if it's so beneficial? Well, if I magically dropped you off in the middle of the ocean, it would be quite beneficial for you to tread water and breathe. Because if you sink underwater, you'll die. But it's incredibly difficult to do that in the middle of the ocean. You can do it for a little while, keep your head out of the water and breathe, but the water's really cold, and it's the waves or the surf or the rolling surf or the whatever it's called. It's difficult. It's just an analogy for the reality that the world is difficult to be in. There's a tremendous amount going on all the time. And the interesting thing, there was a tremendous amount going on 3,000 years ago, long before all the things that distract us. The world has always been very busy. What we have become is, I was going to say addicted to the busyness. I don't think addicted's strong enough. We have become the busyness. Busyness is our life. We're moving from one thing to another, to another, to another, even when we sit down and rest. You sit down and rest, and immediately a story starts. To sit down and rest and literally do nothing. To simply be the perception. To be the body. To be the consciousness. To not have this language going on all the time. All the time. What is it that when people lie down to go to sleep and they don't sleep well? What is it when someone wakes up at 4 in the morning and can't get back to sleep? It's language. You could get back to sleep more easily if you were just quietly lying there following the breath and nothing else. quietly lying there and experiencing perception without language, you'd probably fall back asleep. But instead, you know, the energy that we have is directed by our thinking, by our language coming up. And then we get engaged, and then we're suddenly more awake than we should be at 4 in the morning. And we're not getting the rest we want. It's amazing that our motivation to sit and relax during the day, to do the dishes mindfully, one dish at a time, without thinking about something else, to go to bed at night and sleep enough hours to feel refreshed. All of these things are strong motivations, and yet they're overrun by this busyness. Busy, busy, all the time. The need to do something, even when the do something is simply to think about it. How to rouse the energy to really sustain, to keep sustaining, not just to initiate sustaining, but to keep sustaining the practice that you wish to do. Not someone else's practice, your practice. How to sustain the practice of being awake and alive. How to keep that energy flowing. This has to come from you. And there isn't a lot said about how to rouse energy. Just purely how to rouse energy. But we've done it in our lives, you know. Maybe there's a project we're working on and there's a deadline and we don't have the energy to finish, but we do it anyway. We rouse the energy to finish, or to get through a day of work. Or we've taken a hike and it turns out that on the way back we're done, but we still have to get all the way back to the trailhead. We rouse the energy and we get there. We know how to do this. You know how to do this. You know how to rouse energy to continue persisting in getting done what you wish to get done. This is what we're going to practice this morning. I'm going to recommend that part of the practice is try to be free of language. Don't worry about if thinking is occurring. Notice if language is occurring. And let the arising of language be a pointer toward where energy needs to be roused so that you can persist in sustaining your practice. That's what we want to practice this morning, persistence. Bringing energy to sustaining our intention to focus where we wish to have our focus. To not get lost in language, to not get lost in anything else other than what we intend to focus on. We just need to be persistent in rousing the energy to stay where we want to stay. So let's try this. Let's see if we can really make a difference this morning in the way that we practice. To really dig in and rouse energy and sustain energy